evening and welcome to Dog Talk. I'm Dan Camilleri.
And I'm Laura McKillop. We'd like to start by thanking Enduro, high energy food for working dogs with real kangaroo meat, for bringing you our fortnightly podcast.
Fortunate enough that we've got the man up there on our right.
Well done, guys. Beautiful.
And down the bottom there, you've got Chris Egan joining us tonight for a little bit of a different chat. How you going, buddy?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Mate, more than welcome. Thanks for reaching out between the both of you and coming up with a different episode, I suppose, or a different concept to just talking dogs and training concepts. It's something pretty different. So, yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Paul, been on board now for, what's this, this is like 149 episodes,
Yeah.
I see.
Yep.
149 episodes. How many bags of Enduro have gone out the door?
Oh, only one or two, Dan. We're a very small player, you know that. We just keep it under the radar. But on that, just whilst you've done that nice little segue there, Dan, just want to congratulate you guys on such a phenomenal podcast. I mean, yeah, it has been going. You know, I met you guys when you first bought the Stock Dog magazine, and then you had the podcast, and you had all these ideas and thoughts, and wanted to garnish the industry and, you know, build a community. And I'd have to say that you've done a phenomenal job in respect of that. I mean, the access to the different people through the podcast, a lot of people wouldn't have access to meet, see, or interview or hear the stories from these guys. And certainly then, like what we'd love to touch base on later on today is, you know, your personal growth. I mean, I've watched you guys grow from, you know, Dan, when you were doing excavations and doing all that earthwork stuff, and now you've got one of the biggest boarding kennels I've seen in Sydney. And certainly, you know, from a sheepdog guy to a, you know, Malinois, you know, it's certainly gone in leaps and bounds. And Laura's obviously ventured out from the Kelpie into the Collie and into the 3 Sheep, and, you know, judging the other weekend as well. So, I mean, you know, you guys have had a huge, you know, growth in yourselves, and it'd be awesome to touch base on some of the knowledge and the learnings that you guys have had from not only the podcast, not only the magazine, but just your own personal stories. I mean, you guys are the people behind the mic, and it would be great for people to know a lot more about you guys than just me and Chris. I mean, we're great podcasters, don't worry about that. But the story, I mean, ultimately is a little bit more about, you know, realistically, awesome to know, you know, your last 4.5 years has been, from what I've seen anyway, has been phenomenal growth in both of you. And again, just wanted to say thanks for A, the opportunity, B, the opportunity to sponsor, and C, just the fostering of relationship within the community is phenomenal. So that's my intro anyway.
Thank you. Might as well end it there.
Yeah, that's
I remember being in the kitchen of a farm that I was working on and getting the phone call from you two guys together going, what do you think about this idea? Like, and you started running the whole dog talk thing, and you're like, it's like a dog, it's like a Kelpie, and it's got like cogs, you know, and then you're running through you had the logo and everything planned out, and you were like, maybe we could get like someone on like every few weeks maybe and just interview them. And then that turned from that thought into getting, you know, pretty much superstars, you know, every week, which is pretty for you guys to do that, and what's come from that, just that little thought process that you guys had at that time.
No, thank you. Look, it's really the community that's built Dog Talk. As much as Dan and I jump on every week, without the community, we are nothing. And
that driving force that comes from Miss One, Mary McKillop. Like,
Marie. Everyone calls her Mary because of you.
But you know, like, she was the one behind us that gave us the final kick in the backside. You know, she's like, well, if you don't do it, I'm going to, with no intention of ever doing it. But it gave us that motivation, and yeah, it's been a wild ride. What, 4 years?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I was 21. I wasn't 21 when we started it.
Well, there you go.
I had a list of I had a list in my notes that I saw ages ago of probably 10 or 15 different people from when you guys asked me, like, who do you think we could get on? And I was like, I remember making a list in my phone and thinking, like, would you ever be able to even talk to this person, you know? And I look at that list now, and every single one of those people has been on it, you know? So it's just given a real platform for, I guess the longer that you're in the industry, the more you realize that everyone's just a real person and wants to talk about dogs just as much as you do. But when you're starting out, you think that there's no way whatsoever that you can ever get inside those people's heads, like they're just like they're famous to you when you're first starting out, So this has given that a place where you can find out those people, they're just real people, and you can relate to them, and you can get them on a level where you can use their experiences in your own world, where sometimes you just think that they would never match up, but they do, because they're just everyday people out having a go, just like you.
And there's still hundreds that we have that are untouched and untapped, right? So there's still hundreds of people there that
there's new people coming every day like that. I listened to Thomas Wolford, is it, the other day?
Okay.
He's a legend. And he's a Swiftie. It's just so refreshing to hear stories like that, and it just takes you back and gives you that little bit of passion of where you were once, and just makes you realize what got you this far, like why you loved it in the first place. And it's so good to hear those people. There's always just new people like that coming through that are full of enthusiasm, and it's so refreshing to hear.
Have you listened to one of our podcasts and taken like something from someone and then applied it and changed the way you do things?
Yep, definitely. Especially at the moment with a collie dog that I have. He's probably like 14 months old, around that sort of age. And I can see so many things in him that I want, and the reasons why I got him. And he's got some traits that none of my other dogs have, but it's been very difficult for me to move forward in the right direction with him. I know with a few of the Kelpies I've had, it just doesn't matter. Like, they'll just show up and have a crack every day, and you can't, if you finish on a high, they'll be high tomorrow. If you finish on a low, they'll be high tomorrow. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
But what I'm really trying to get out of this dog is some traits that I haven't been able to get in other dogs, and I think I can get that from him. And even just today, I was thinking about something. I think it could have been David Macareth or something, was saying about the UK dogs, the time that needs to be spent with them on the hill. And so every time something doesn't go right with that dog, I just switch everything off, either get out of the buggy and just clock off from the job that I'm doing, because I'm getting paid by the hour. It might be 2:00 or whatever, and I'll say I finished at 2:00 that day, and I'll see the day out till 5:30 on foot with the dog, just trying to form a bit more of a bond with him on foot, and I'll be moving mobs and mustering and doing all the work I have to do on foot, which I'm not getting paid for because I'd finished work that day, but I just feel like I'm getting a much better dog out of it. So I try and it's just come from just a couple of little things that I heard from him in that one episode, and also with the guy that you spent some time with, Sean, in Norway, is it? Yeah, I took so much from that. And every time something doesn't seem to be working out, I feel like I have a look at myself a lot more, and I'm changing the way I do things myself a lot more since listening to him, where I think it's definitely been for the better for my dogs and myself, all my dogs, even the Kelpies that, I've had for years and have been trained 100 different ways. I can see a relief in them now that I'm doing things differently myself. And that's just come from just tiny little things that I take from each of those people. So I'll go back and listen to them again, and that mightn't have even been what they meant when they said it, but that's how I heard it, and that's what I've put into place. And then I listen to them again, I go, okay, that's what he actually meant. So then that takes me to that next level of training, but I couldn't have got to that level if I didn't sort of just take the first snippet and take that first step. But yeah, there's something from every single person that I've pretty much, especially listening to it on the way to work. Like whoever I listen to that day, I pretty much am them the whole day while I'm at work. And even with the dog breeding science, like that made me I listened to that episode and I tested all my dogs pretty much straight away, which was really good to know. I had a few dogs at the time, like my dog Ray, who's a fair mixture of bloodlines. Like he's a little bit, mostly Rayana, just with all different other sort of bloodlines mixed with it. And I had Capri Outlaw, Capri Goldie, another dog that was out of a Capri bitch by a Capri dog. I tested all of them and my collie, and Ray was the one that came back a carrier, and all the others came back clear. So then a litter that Ray had with a bitch called Capri Lexi, I think, there was a carrier in that litter, and then joined that back to a Capri dog and got clear pups. So it's just, it kind of scares you a little bit at the start, but then you realize how quickly you can turn it around by being educated in that way. Yeah.
Mate, like we've got a carrier bitch here, and we've bred all clear pups out of her. I just kept putting clear dogs over her, which actually is real interesting as well. Like, because I've always wondered whether that carrier gene in itself, like if it's more prominent carrying on in the dog or the bitch as well.
Yeah, right.
But I suppose we're still really early in that science as well. So once, it's been going for a few years and all the data's together, be interesting to see if it carries more through the dog side or the bitch side, or if it's even split. Yeah.
Well, having like Ray, who, he's 9 now and pretty much been at work with me every day, and he's done a huge amount of work, and he's got some beautiful traits in him. And for me to, if I want to carry those traits on in another breeding with a Capri dog and then join back to a Capri dog, everything was clear. So then you don't have to be afraid of using a dog that's a carrier if he has traits that you like, because if you select the right dogs to then breed to for their traits, in another generation, it's all gone, So, well, at this stage, like, further education might come out in the future, and we'll realize that we've still got a lot of work to do there. But to have that knowledge now and still be able to breed in the direction you want to breed in is, it's something I wouldn't have even thought about, or I would have pretty much just wrote it all off if I didn't listen to the podcast with Dogs Breeding Science. Yeah,
it could have been put on a shelf pretty quickly, right? I just lost all of that.
Well, that's what it's all about. So what have you guys learned over the duration of, what sort of stands out for you guys in terms of the people that you've interviewed, or the commonality across the industry? Because you guys have had, the attack dog stuff, you've had the sniffer dog stuff, you've had the pet stuff, you've had the working dog stuff. So what sort of stuff have you learned or resonated with across the whole dynamic of, let's call it the industry of dogs?
You go. I wasn't prepared to be interviewed tonight. I thought we were coming on here to talk about Daniel.
No.
Talk about everyone today.
For myself, I much like Chris, every time I interviewed someone, I'm like, I'm going to get a pup from there. I'm going to get a pup from them. So it could be like 149 pups deep.
You probably have, Dan, to be fair. You are Noah's Ark of the hills.
Well, yeah, okay. So I've got Malinois here.
Labrador.
I've got a Labrador, Springer Spaniel.
Dachshund.
Yeah. We've got a few German Shepherds, and then I've got obviously my Kelpies. Hopefully just haven't found the right collie for me yet. Been through a few.
He happened to sell the best one he's had.
Yeah, she's got a good one. But you just haven't found the right one. But one of my biggest takeaways, I suppose, Paul, has been thresholds for me. Like finding dog with a good mind and good attitude, but also the thresholds. Like a reactive dog is easy to see a threshold in, right? Because it's uncomfortable through fear and it's lashing out. Like the behavior is just a symptom of its emotions. But then seeing those dogs that are excited or aroused show similar thresholds, where like low thresholds, where there's like they're that excited, and there's just no cohesion in their minds. It's just like they're internally valve bouncing, and their brain just turns to mush. The gears aren't just working, right? There's no clarity. And that's been one of my biggest things. Like, I've got a Malinois out here. Everyone that's been around, I've been around trial scene soda, right? High drive, extremely high drive. But she gets to that higher drive because she's so excited where her brain just turns to mush. And I just have to make things really simple for her and just go park. Like, just stop. Where I've got another male here that I'm developing for corrective services, hopefully. And he's just like solid in the mind, kind of like the one, that chase I had that I sold to the army. Yep. And then that's in the protection stuff. And then I see that as well in the detection. Like, you might have a real talented dog, but it can't put it all together because it's just so excited. My Springer is a massive example of that. Like, when you can put out, the other day I got Dimmy to go out, put out 6 hides for me, and just Kong, which is my maintenance odor. They'll find koala crap and a bit of explosives as well I've mucked around with. And I let Gus out, my Springer, and he's just running through the paddock and head turning, going. I'm just like, okay, well, we're there, and there. But he never indicated on anything because he's just so like soda.
Highly driven.
Just highly driven. And then I got a Kelpie bitch there that I actually started scent detection with as a bit of a. Ryan Tate rang me and asked about for a job. The client wanted Kelpies. I said, mate, I think you'll be doing it pretty tough to find a line of Kelpie to suit you. And this particular Kelpie bitch is one we raised, and Matt and Dimmy and Andrew developed a Famondio ring to start with. They wanted to do something different with this Kelpie. And then Nat decided she's not a needy dog. She's one of those dogs that give you the bird, which I like. So I was speaking to Ryan. I said, look, I'll give you an example. I've got a highly driven dog here, but that will keep a good mind, but I think she's too reliant on me. So I took it as a challenge to turn her into a detection dog. I asked Dimmy to put out 6 finds in 6 new locations. I walked in there and she just ran to every find, indicated on them. I think I might have put up a video or something. It's one where I threw a ball and accidentally hit her in the head. And she just so stable and solid in the mind. And you can get a job done with that. And it's not as frustrating. Where the Springer was just so quick.
Is there a big variation within the breeds, like those type of working dogs, the same as there is with Kelpies? Like, is there different? So the Springer, for example, what were you looking for when you got that Springer pup? Did you have to choose a particular line because of their what they're bred for? Like, so if you say, for example, if you were getting a Kelpie now, there is a lot of different variations of that Kelpie. So you would select one that you think is going to suit you for now. Is that what you did with the Springer?
Yeah, absolutely. I, as you know, I'm a genetic pervert. So I looked at the genetics of dogs that are already in that field. I had a look at some dogs, and he was 2 when I got him. He's just about to turn 3. Come back to breeder. They had just had an issue with a bit of behavioural issue with him and another dog when a bitch came in the season. Said, that's right up my alley. But yeah, I looked at who had runs on the boards and with what line of dogs. And I think he'll be a cracking dog. And I want to get into a bit of conservation work. I've now learned that I'm probably not going to have the time for that, but I learned heaps from the experience of training a few dogs for it. I've got a Labrador pup I bought for that as well. She'll probably end up with corrective services now. She's beautiful. But yeah, and that's where I was saying, like, the correlation back to the working dogs, like, you can see it within different Kelpie or Collie lines, right? Where they might be extremely high, like their drive might be high, but they lose their minds doing it. And those dogs need that more time coming on, but more consistency in the foundations. The way I call it the 1%ers, like the manners, the way we let them out of their kennels, the way we interact with them. Like, I never just pat a dog. The dog has to do something for me. Like, it has to.
They're not turbocharging that drive through.
Yeah.
They're not losing it to the point where once they get to that level, their cognition's gone. Like, they're mentally not able to cope with what the task is because it's already gone too far. So you're basically bringing them through that journey to essentially let them to cope with the drive level they've got, achieve the result, and gradually they can get to that higher drive, because you need that motivation, but you need the clarity in their head to achieve the result at the same token.
Absolutely. And keeping in mind is something that I suppose Paul kind of changed my whole perspective on dogs driving me.
Oh, well done.
We'll get into that, but like,
I was going to say, we need to talk about where that happened.
when I started thinking about the psychology and working on the psychology and then educating myself on, like, one thing I think we're stuck on in the stock dog world, and I'm sure Paul will give me this, like, we keep talking about pressure relief, but pressure doesn't create behavior. Reinforcement creates behavior. And we've got to be careful as well, because we can go over too much, create too higher thresholds when there's too much reinforcement, or the dog, whatever the dog's getting is too of a higher value. So, for example, when I started mucking around with Soda with some scent detection, I couldn't use a tug toy to reward her. She'd lose her mind. She forgot what the job was, you know? So I had to come back to, okay, well, what's rewarding for this dog to motivate her to keep working, but not going to send her over the edge?
Going to overstimulate her, yeah.
100%. So I started with, okay, well, I'll give you food, right? Because she'll work for food, but it's not as reinforcing as a ball or especially a tug toy. Like her favorite thing to do in the world is to bite someone. Like, she just loves swinging or something. So when I started conditioning her with food, so it was still low stimulating, but stimulating enough. And then we could work up to a ball and now a tug toy.
You're increasing the repetitions without losing the marble and getting the holy grail at the end.
Yeah, just toying with the thresholds, right?
Yeah.
Just trying to keep on the rev limiter, but you don't need to be in fourth right now, darling. Like, just stay in third. And it's no different with like our younger stock dogs. Like, we might get these young dogs, and all we're doing, we're creating junkies, right? We're creating addicts and sheep goats. The livestock's the drug. And some of those young dogs, just that drug, that fix, they're like heroin babies. They just need that drug. And we're so big on in the stock dog world of just applying pressure a lot to start with that, rather than just going, all right, well, let's just start small and go big and work our way up. Like shorter goes and maybe even less pressure.
When you say pressure, what sort of pressure would you be removing now to what you would have put on 4 or 5 years ago?
I see a lot of like videos with people with dogs on leads, pipes in front of them, and they're turning them on the stock, and now they go, no, you can't have it. Well, that's very conflicting for a young dog. All right, there's pressure behind it, there's pressure in front of it, there's pressure everywhere. And then you can start bringing on stuff like tail turning, or the dog not understanding, like, just to settle.
Yeah.
You know, and like even asking a dog to settle.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you think
with
working dogs, people aren't like stock dogs, sorry, because they have that instinct on livestock, and you can put them on the livestock from a young age, people are looking for maybe not faults, but looking for things that may not be ideal from such a young age, maybe too early as well. Like, are you looking for faults in like different type of working dogs that you work with, or are you trying to set something up so there are no faults, you know?
There's always going to be a fault somewhere. I think it was Rob Cox that said earlier, like, is it one you can live with? And if it isn't, and you cover it with training, it's going to come out somewhere in the breeding. So I still love a stylish dog, but I find that a lot of stylish dogs can't handle that close interaction. I think that Rob Hodgman spoke about that last inch. You know, a lot of stylish dogs, they can't handle that last inch of pressure. They get in, they might grab something or cover. So I'm looking for that dog just with a nice solid mind. That dog where you throw a pan across like in the kennel bay and it goes ding ding ding, or on the concrete, and it just like looks up and goes, oh, okay. Or
are you looking for something that can take that last inch from the start, or are you looking for something that you can see will be able to take that last inch if you do things right with it?
From the start would be fantastic, but so would be riding Pegasus and following every rainbow and catching the pot of gold.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic at that age. And I think so many dogs don't see a further life because of that. And I think that's really sad. But you're just looking for I'm looking for something that shows a lot of stability in the mind and with a good attitude. But if it stuffs up, you can just go, all right, that's okay. It is what it is. Let's move on. And still, like, nothing's perfect. Like, for example, done pretty good with young Sting there the other day, right? I was ready to sack that dog. Like, what, a year old? I think I was going to sack him because he's so handler sensitive.
He was scared of sheep.
Yeah. Well, when I started him, he was scared of sheep. He ran out the first 2 times I put him on sheep at like 8 weeks and 9 weeks. He ran out of the yard. Like, he couldn't find a way out of that yard. But at 6 months old, I could blind cast.
So what made you hold on between that 9 weeks and 6 months?
Because 5 years ago, in all honesty,
I
you
wouldn't
would
have
not.
on him. No, 100%.
Like when I first met Daniel, this is a story. Here we go. So Mum bought a dog off Daniel, which is how we met him. And we come here to introduce him to sheep. We didn't know what we were doing. So come over to Daniel's, put Tom on the sheep. Daniel had a pup from the same litter. We live half an hour away. By the time we got home, Daniel had already sold his pup he was going to keep from that litter because it didn't start at 8 weeks old. Now you listen to a story like this, you're a different person.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, 100%. Like,
we can laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, who is this bloke? Like,
I think what
the hell?
A lot more patience. So that particular dog there, I remember I went and bought a collie pup from Mick Hudson, Zen. Laura's got it now, and I took Sting with me. And I just said, can you just muck around with this dog? And like, he flicked him around. He goes, oh, he's a nice dog. He's a bit tight here and there, but he's nice. Like, this dog went like from not liking sheep at 6 months old. I could send him from the gate and he'd go out, and you've been to my place. Like, yeah, it's only like 15 acres, but it's gully, it's thick. And he'd bring sheep up. Like, and I still remember the day, like, I used to just send him and I'd go down there and like help him up. And I remember the day we were walking up and he kind of just looked at me and went, I get this. Like, I know what you want from me now. And I could see like a smart, and he's like an old dog in his mind, but I could just see like a relief, of like a stress relief. So when I was talking to Mick, I said, mate, I come home and I said, mate, I think I'm getting rid of this dog. He's just too sensitive. And Mick's like, just hold on to him, Dan. I don't mind a sensitive dog, a handler sensitive dog. I said, what's he like on stock? I said, mate, he never quit on me. But like, he's the type of dog that like, if you just looked at him and like that, he'd be like, whoa, like, oh, I've never screamed at that dog. Like, I've never, like, the worst he gets is like, Sting. Like, it's just so much.
You've changed, man.
He's just so much easier to work with. Like, I said it last week in that presentation, you know, when Laura and I started Dog Talk, for myself side of it, like, we both have our own stories, but my side was I wanted to give something back to the community because I did have a bit of a hard time there a while back. And from that hard time, I think it might have softened me up a little bit as well, where I'm just like, so I thought I was invincible, like 100% invincible. So I think from that hard time, I've looked at my dogs and gone, well, they're not all invincible. And maybe I'm just have too high of expectations.
But you're also more educated too, like going down a different route with your job, Hooked on Hounds. Like, I've seen a change in you from learning from people like Paul, like Dimmy, is it Andrew?
Yeah.
Like, all these different people that come and educate you in a different way. Like, your brain, like, you say stuff to me and I'm like, just dumb it down for me, Daniel. Like, use English, not your other.
You have to get results now. You can't just say no.
Yeah.
I'll start again with another one. You need to get results. That's what you're helping people with, and you've learned that for yourself now as well, which is
Well, I think other than Zen, and I sold Zen to Laura because I decided I wanted to start 3 sheeping. I was so inspired, and I'm like, I don't have the time to 3 sheep.
And I told you,
and that's why I bought Zen for. And I'm just like, okay, cool. And then Laura was into me, so I was like, all right.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't into you. I told you at the beginning, when you sell that dog, I will buy it.
But other than her, I don't think I've moved on a stock dog. Like, there was a young D there.
A couple that you kept a few from the litter, like to pick the one you wanted. But
otherwise, I haven't. I've just been more tolerable because I can just look at them different.
With I'm back to that collie I was talking about. I think it just gets a little bit built in with you because so many people have so many good prospects in pups coming through. You know, the best dogs getting joined to the best bitch all the time, and you keep thinking, oh, well, there's always something there. and you might get a bit caught up in, oh well, this one's not doing this, so I'll move it on and get something else. But the collie that I have, he's very sensitive to me as well, but not so much in a scared way or a timid way, as in like I could, if I raise my voice at him, he'd take some steps back and take notice, and I don't ever have to do that. If I raise my arm in the air, no matter what he's doing at work, he'll take notice of that and take a few steps back and lay down or something. But he's very sensitive to me, but he's really tough on stock.
Yeah.
So I know that when you let him go, he's going to work hard and nothing's going to worry him from the sheep or the cattle, but he's going to take notice of me, which I think is a hard process to get through, because you think he might be a bit worried, but really it's probably his brain working a lot more than every other dog would in that scenario. And I'm hoping I'll get a better product in the end because of it. And he has sort of an old head on his shoulders as well, but I have to change. I think my instincts tell me to be how he wants me to be, but everything else in my environment sometimes tells me not to be, like hurry up, get it done, bash the gates closed, jump the fence here, race around in the buggy between jobs and stuff, all stuff like that I've just slowed down a bit on, and I realize I'm getting things done a lot quicker by slowing down. And so that sensitive nature is changing me in a way that, you've evolved as well. But I kind of was like, something I wanted to talk about is like, say the types of people that are most, I don't know how to say, but like ruthless when they're starting a dog. No, I got rid of it because he did this, or no, I moved him on because I did that. I find when I hear someone say that to me, I start thinking, I wonder what you were like sitting in the classroom in, say, year 4, trying to learn maths or, the origins of the English language. Like, were you sitting at the front of the class listening to every word the teacher said, or were you swinging on your chair at the back, throwing rubbers and stuff like that? Like, I find the people who are most judgmental on those dogs that are going through the young learning phase are the ones that probably would have been a nightmare to teach anything to when they're younger, But then those guys have found their passion and found their career and are probably one of the most trustworthy people within their field now. But I don't think you can write the pups off for not doing as they're told, or not doing things the way that the education that you want from them shows, because every person, every animal has a different way of learning. So as long as you like the dog, I think you got to work through all those things, because a lot of the times the ones that are rat bags, or the ones that just don't get it, are probably going to be the ones that get it the best once they do what they are bred to do, and that's go to work. But the dogs don't get to that stage with those particular people. They end up getting there with others, because they get moved on and get to that stage. But I just find some of the people that are the most judgmental and ruthless with the dogs, I think, probably would be the hardest ones to educate when they were younger themselves.
100%. And I think a lot of that is man-made. Like, I think we forget, like, everything living is a product of two things. It's genetics, it's DNA, and it's education. And genetics is the dog is going to be what it is. You can't change traits. They're going to be there. But, like, how often do you see someone, the only time they work a dog, like, they get a dog out of the kennel, they work it, they put it away. They get a dog out of the kennel, they work it, they put it away. They do that, right? Paul, what does that create in terms of a conditioning effect?
You'll have to tell me, Dan. I'm not up there these days. You're the man for that.
So dogs learn by association, otherwise known as classical conditioning, right? Now, if we're going to have the same pattern over and over again, next thing you're getting the dog out and you up it because it's so excited, because it's been in a habit. Every time you get it out, you put it on sheet. Now you've got Pavlovian interference. because the dog is going to it knows what's coming, so it can't control itself anymore, or it might even give you the behavior it thinks it needs to get the reward. So those dogs are already over a threshold when you go to work those young dogs. One thing I've noticed over the last 4 years is how many people can train a dog in drive but have no relationship with the dog away from livestock. And then you're watching people work the dog in when it is working, and they're screaming and roaring because all they're doing, they're just whining that dog. The dog's used to every time it gets out of the kennel, it's just on stock. It doesn't have a time to get out, have a pat, or get out, give it a pat, put it away. Get it out, spend the time to put it away. Then it's like, oh, it's a dog's fault. The dog's doing all this. But hang on a minute. What's your pattern? What are your rituals? Why is the dog doing what it is? I'm not saying there's no bad dogs, because there are. And that's something else that's changed in my mind. There are some dogs out there that are just assholes, right? They just genetically are.
Best type.
Sorry?
The best type.
The best type. I actually don't mind an asshole, to be honest.
Same.
I like those dogs, right? But a lot of those things where people are quitting dogs, Chris, so early, it's how much of that is actually man-made, right? Because we only look at the faults that are man-made. Oh, it tail turns. It does this. It's too wide. Yeah, it's probably used to you chasing it off every time, or you're playing it's tail turning because you're letting this young dog go towards stock that are 14 times bigger than it, and you're applying pressure on the back end. It's got pressure this side and this side. Where do you expect the dog to go?
Yeah,
I think we create.
That's right. When you judge, especially judging maiden and novice yard trials, you see a few turntails that for sure aren't genetic. Because there's 50 other dogs at that trial, all with the same makeup of that dog, and they're not doing it. But you can see the exact point when it's just about to happen, because you're watching how the handler's approaching the situation or handling the situation, and it doesn't mean they're a bad handler. It just means they don't quite trust the dog yet, or whatever is happening. But every tail turn I've ever seen at a dog trial has been man-made, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Laura, what about you? I answered what Paul asked me, but you've done a flip from yard trialing and even changing your whole pack from nearly to a mixed color camp now.
Yeah.
I think there's the Kelpies are on the
There's
the
only
less
two.
side. Yeah, there's only two now. How has that changed?
Well,
you?
I want to say about Chris's thing first. I actually think it's human nature as well, to a certain degree, that we always look for the next best thing.
Yeah.
Whether that's a
Never
new
have enough,
job
right?
or a new car, or you're trying to change. Everyone's trying to get better in life, and I think we're the same with dogs. And I really noticed that coming from the horse world into the dogs, in terms of you got a young horse, you did everything you could to make that horse the best horse it could possibly be. And I think a lot of people do that with dogs, but a lot of people move them on quickly, looking for the next best one.
Because they're cheaper as well.
They're cheaper, you breed them quicker, and you can train them quicker, because a horse, you're waiting for him to be 18 months old before you even put a saddle on it, where the dog, it's 8 weeks old and you're putting a sit on it. I think there's a big difference in that.
That's actually a really good point.
And that's another thing, about what Dan said. If you form a little bit of a bond with that pup, and you think, hang on a second, he's a bit of a standout. He's easier to have around. He's a bit bolder. He's a bit tougher than the last sort of 4 or 5 pups I've had. So then you can keep hold of him for a bit longer because you like him, and then you're happy to wait a bit longer to see. Or if he's not quite perfect the first time, you can wait. But if you're just getting them out of the cage, putting them on sheep, you're not actually liking the pup for what he is. So then you're not giving him that extra chance that maybe that's all he needed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got a 2-year-old dog at home, and most people have laughed that I've still got her. I love her, and I love having her around. She shows me some beautiful work, but at the same time, she's just immature in the head that I can't physically, you've watched me work her, I think, and you just can't put anything on her yet because she's so just not there. But maybe I shouldn't keep her, and maybe she just needs to go to work. I don't know, but like what you're saying, I think there's potential there, so she's stayed. If I didn't like her, she wouldn't be there. And I think each their own. I don't have to take it to work every day, so it's a different situation. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
From
It
where I
does
sit,
get it does get tough when you do have to get a job done every day, and you know someone's going to rely on you this week, next week, or whatever, and the good dogs you have are getting old, and something happens to them, and you got to leave them in the cage for the day, and you
Yeah.
start thinking, shit, if this one isn't, I've got to replace a dog soon, and I don't have too many spare cages. Like something's got to go so I can get something else, because if I wait a little bit longer, this one isn't going to make it. I won't. My gap's getting too big. So the longer I wait, the bigger I'm spreading that gap. So sometimes you have to make that call when you have to get a job done,
But
because you can't just keep putting cages for no reason.
But I also think like this dog in particular, if someone started taking her to work, I think she'd actually learn easier and quicker, and because there's a purpose. Like it's not just not dry training, but it's not just being trained every day. Like I started just moving sheep from paddock to paddock, and she's a different dog. So, a day's work where it's not all just fun for 20 minutes, I reckon should be a different dog. So like I think a lot of people that have that opportunity don't take advantage of it. Maybe don't take advantage isn't the right word. Like I don't want to offend people, but like I think sometimes from what I hear and see and all the rest, a lot of people take dogs to work too young.
We're expecting too much out of
Too
a young
much,
dog.
too young. I think, someone that's had dogs for 5 or 10 years, and let's say you with Ray, you've taken Ray to work for the last 7, 8 years, that sometimes I think people forget what that dog was when they were 18 months old, that they expect their 18-month-old to act and perform like a 6 and 7-year-old dog. They forget the time, the training, the hours they put into that dog, the mistakes that dog made to get them to where they are.
I was thinking that the other day with the cows and calves. Like Ray's so solid on cows and calves. It doesn't matter what's happening.
Yeah.
He's so solid. And he probably didn't even work cattle at all until he was over 2 or 2.5 or 3 or something. And now I'm putting dogs on cattle pretty young. I expect them to be solid on cows and calves, well before they're 2.
And that's what I mean. Like,
and you forget that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's human
Sorry,
nature.
Paul.
Yeah.
So that's all right. No, just from my observation over the last number of years, going out to obviously the various farms and meeting a whole raft of different people, and then listening to Dan earlier. I mean, I think you've got the dog training mentality, and then you've got the work mentality of what you're talking about, Chris, in terms of, hey, you've got to get a job done. You've only got a finite amount of time, and generally speaking, the teams can be quite large. So the amount of time that you could possibly spend, as you would now, Dan, obviously going in and learning all the different quadrants and understanding dog training, you'd spend a lot more time than someone who's working on a farm who has to do it in the afternoon after a full day of work to try and put some work on a pup. So you're sort of that chicken and egg of accelerating the process because of a necessity of the job itself.
Absolutely.
And that's where I look at. I mean, and knowledge is also, again, the higher the knowledge. So Laura, with your dog, you'll learn a lot more with a dog who's slower maturing. You'll get a hell of a lot more skills. And fundamentally, then your next dog, you probably won't put up with that because you don't want to spend the next 4 years with that next dog waiting for the maturity and the joy to kick in. But right now, it's a good challenge to have that dog that you've got a relationship with, and you'll learn, you'll grow as a trainer. But move forward in 3 years' time, you get a similar pup, what that next 4 years is going to be. You'd probably move that dog on because you don't have the energy of that 4 years. You really want that dog in 2. And again, everyone's had so many different dogs and teams and sizes that I see a lot of that happening just by, in Chris's words, I mean, you've just got to get the job done. So it's a challenging space, and knowledge is something that's shared and learned. And some of it's limited to some of the places, and some of the guys that, some of the teams out there are learning from what they know from other handlers. But just sort of hearing the both sides of that, I mean, it's just more the dog trainer in us would want to, train that dog, take the challenge on. But hey, if you've got a job to do, and it's not quite there and you don't quite have the time, there's the moving on part, or simply the box of tools that you've got. Every dog has to fit within that parameter. And once it doesn't fit within those parameter of tools, it's moved on because you really don't want to expand your tools, you don't want to expand your learning, or you simply don't have the time.
Absolutely.
Some's right, some's wrong. There's no real answer to it, to be fair.
Yeah. And I think like the more you have those experiences, the shorter your processes now become to achieve as well. Like I'm not being a smart ass. I spend bugger all time training my dogs. Like compared to what I used to. Remember how much time I used to put in my dogs? Like I don't do that anymore because and I think this comes from the work side as well, right? The more you're doing something, you can start to streamline your system, whatever it may be, the dog trainer, the worker, it doesn't matter. And your systems get better and you're putting out a better product with less time and effort as well. And if you're doing that, it probably leaves you in a better mindset yourself because you can spend more time with your family and you can be a bit happier doing other things. So the time you're doing that stuff, you're enjoying a bit more as well. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that would be the exposure that you've had across, again, look at the dog training kennels you guys have got. You've got all different breeds, all different dogs. I mean, you're coming across multiple different cases. You're getting to, to be honest, trial and error, right? In some cases, what you see works. And then if it's repeatable, it works again. And you're getting that efficiency through the volume of dogs that you're training. And again, hypothetically, you're on a farm and you've only got a set amount of dogs doing the tasks again. You're not really getting that dynamic of exposure across that different network to expedite some of the learnings.
Actually, you're spot on. I am very spoiled because I get my hands on hundreds of dogs a year. But that might be another point to what Chris was talking about before. Like, I've had a bit of a ray gun then. Because you get to, every dog's a bit bespoke, all right? And you got to handle every dog individually, where sometimes some people might just have, this is my program.
Sorry. I've never heard anyone but you call anything a ray gun.
I thought you were laughing at bespoke because every time.
That's what I thought. I thought you heard ray guns. Seriously, you couldn't dance like that and not have a
I thought he was about to break into dancing, actually, to be fair. I wasn't sure what was going on.
Every time I have a brain fart or a stroke, I have a ray gun. But I think, like, because I have, there's 12 dogs in those kennels there that aren't mine at the moment, and every one of them different. They're all here for something different. There's shepherds, there's Malinois, there's Kelpies, there's collies, there's cattle dogs, there's a Labrador. Hell, we get reactive little cavoodles in here. They're all different. So every approach is different, where I think sometimes in the stock dog world, we go so caught up in our own processes and that we get like a cookie cutter approach. And we go, oh, cool, that one doesn't fit in there, gone. So I think the more we can get our hands on different dogs, the better it is.
And look, that's why we're a big advocate of the dog schools, right? So, not shouting anything about our brand, but I mean, to be honest, we try and sponsor as much of the dog schools as possible because, every trainer has something to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell everyone who, has gone to any seminar, and I've gone to an absolute shitload, but fundamentally though, you can learn 1% from that person. That changes your whole training philosophy. 99% might be what you already do or what you don't even agree with. But fundamentally, you can take 1, 2, 5% and just that little bit of influence over there or something that resonates with you spoken in a certain manner can just change your thought. Now, it could be the same thing that 10 other trainers have said to you, but 9 didn't work. It didn't resonate personally with you. That one comment or one advice did. And all of a sudden, you've picked up and you become a better trainer because of it. So definitely, encouraging that, getting access to that. But looping right back to where you're touching on, Dan, you do have multiple breeds in the Noah's Ark. When I met you, you were very much a sheepdog guy and working dog. What's brought on this passion and into all of these different breeds and expanding this training knowledge?
How can I give someone else advice or bang on my chest, which I don't like to do because I try to drop my ego these days. But But how can I get a try? Hey, that's a battle for anyone. Try being a bloke, Laura. It's hard work, right? Like, how can I try and give someone advice on something if I haven't tried it or got experience in it myself? And like, what way? Dogs are bred for jobs. They're not bred to be sitting on people's lounge. They're not bred just to be stock dogs. They're not bred just to be hunting dogs. There's so many jobs. So the more dogs I can get my hands on, the more jobs, the more training techniques. It's just going to better myself. Like, you love this one, Paul. I was at Henty there. I drove down 6 hours for one run with one dog, right? And with Jay, and Jay's had a pretty good year. We haven't done a lot of trialing, but touch wood, if we go right this weekend, he's made a final in every yard trial I've been to this year. I get out. We've done all right. We were at the presentation. The presentation was finished, and a bloke walked up to me and he goes, and I was there actually with Catherine Rains and Fred Rains as well. And Catherine Rains is well educated in animal behavior. And this gentleman goes, "I love how you three use Nipopo."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Explain Nipopo to me." Like, I would never have ever have thought, which Nipopo is a Bart Bellin thing. Anyone listening, negative, positive, but you got to have it. Actually should be Po Nipopo. We'll get into it later. But I would never have looked down. Like, I'm so big on dog psychology, and I don't look at many dog training stuff anymore. I look at a lot of human psychology. If I didn't actually have a mortgage to pay, I would probably go back and educate myself and try to be a psychologist. Just behavior fascinates me. It's something that Nat and I talk about all the time. Like, behavior just fascinates me now. And seeing, I can tell what a dog is like before it gets here by the way the person can't find our house. Phone's ringing, they're frazzled to this. I'm like, oh, here we go. This dog's going to be a mess. I can already see. We've got some fantastic clients, but this is coming back to thresholds, right? But anyways, like, when you first met me, there's no way I would have been open to. You were bashing me for how long in the ear about just trying to open my mind to different things. Like, I've been so fortunate to spend time with Michael Ellis, protection.
I was going to say, you went to Michael Ellis and nearly fell off my chair.
I got invited by Corrective Services to go spend a week with Cameron Ford. He's probably one of the best detection dog handlers in the world. I've been lucky enough to spend time with Corrective Services. I can go there wherever I want. I've spent time with the RAF. I've spent minimal time with the Army. It's opened up to so many. Like, if I think about something detection-wise or just a concept, I'll give Brian Tate a call and go, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And he's put me in contact with other people. And I've gone and spent time with Dean Jones, who trains the elephants at the zoo, and just watched what they got an invite to go and say, "Hey, man, I'm coming through there." And it's opened up so many doors, like, just to learn different concepts.
And is that because of the Dog Talk show, or just putting yourself out there as a trainer?
Well, with our Dog Talk, you and I probably don't meet, and then I don't go to my first Michael Ellis school, and then I hate talking, right? So then I don't network, and that's all it is. I just go say hi and, "Hey, Nina," and just keep talking to people. You know, like, actually, that's something I want to ask you, Paul. Like, a lot of people wouldn't know. Like you mentioned there, you've been in school. I wouldn't know how successful, like, you have trained dogs, but do you want to talk about the schools you have and the seminars and why you've been to them?
Oh, well, for the stuff that I used to do, because obviously with the amount of travel I do, it's not fair on the dog to try and trial and train. So to be honest, I've just got a house dog these days that does, he knows nothing but walking and being friendly. So that's about it, really. But I mean, when I was doing the protection sport and just dog training in general, the only access we generally had was internationals. So nearly everybody came from America, Germany, France, London, Belgium, and they're all specialists in their field. So whether that's detection, whether that's protection, whether that's obedience, whether that's sports training, these guys were international stars around the world in their relative home of training. And some, to be fair, because they are dog trainers, necessarily not dog educators. So, you know, very, very great at handling a dog, but terrible at actually educating. You know, it's like who's Tiger Woods' caddy? I mean, someone had to teach Tiger Woods, right? They're not necessarily always the stars of the game, but they're the people behind it that are, you know, looking at the 1%ers and picking up on, you know, the handling errors, the dog errors, the genetics that you need. And so, yeah, look, I've been to hundreds of different seminars when I was doing my dog training courses. And again, you pick up bits and pieces, you learn different bits of knowledge, and you grow your tools and your skill set. And predominantly that was to help pet dogs when I was initially doing it, but obviously to do the sports stuff that I was doing and try and grow. But, you know, I did choose a Rottweiler to compete with. So you're always up shit creek with that anyway. So, I mean, look, and again, it's horses for courses, right? I mean, you get a Malinois who, you know, in 90% of them are out of the box and love the drive. Whereas I spent years building drive and building that, you know, again, Laura, like the dog that you love. And so I train the dog in front of me is always the mentality. So it doesn't matter what that dog is. There is no tool. Like you basically have that dog and you have 20 different ways of training a dog, but only one will probably work on that, but you can't do the other 19. But I would choose to persevere and grow that because it educated me as a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that dog that you have now? How old is it?
Oh, he's 3 now. Two or three, I think.
And how old is the one that you had when you were doing the seminars?
So he passed with bone cancer in the jaw, but he was 8.
8, okay. And so when you were saying that those training days that you were doing then were from internationals, and so that dog, how did you choose to buy that dog as a pup?
So I had another one
10 years ago. Yep.
Yeah. So look, I had a Roddy years ago. So I had a Roddy many years ago, and I went to this old school Scottish guy. I went to and he was old school, just umbrellas in the head, thin lids, check chains. And honestly, like back in the day, man, this dog was a massive unit, one of the best dogs I ever had, loved it. And I actually wanted to get back into that, right? I wanted to find someone of that ilk back, and I had no idea about any of that. So then I got another dog who was from, you know, a German lines, working dog, whatever you want to call it. And
but did you select him for those lines, or you just found?
No, I got it, and then just got a passion for training.
Okay. Yep.
And I went out to an old German guy, and he was similar, but a little bit more modern than the old Scottish guy. And they did a lot of protection stuff. And this dog certainly didn't have any of it, like nothing.
Okay.
But I was coming up with ideas of balloons to put this dog in drive and to teach him to. Mate, there was random training shit we did with this dog to try and motivate him to train. And obviously, at some point, I trialed him a few times in obedience, and you could tell he could be on one day and off for the next 5. It just wasn't his passion. It definitely wasn't in the dog. That was more my ego than it was the dog. And very clearly went, hold on, it's not fair on this dog. He's just not that dog. So, yeah, I then selected the next dog specifically for sport, and then chose the trainer that I wanted to master my training on. And then I spent.
And has that training been easier?
Oh, mate, it was easier because the dog was built for it.
Yeah, that's what.
But he was a different dog, and to be fair, I rushed a few things on that dog that I shouldn't have, and that's more around the protection side. So, again, a little bit of conflict in the dog when he was younger, that emanated in his personality later on. So that made him like he was a stable dog, extremely well trained, but there was always that 1% where he could nail you if he didn't like you, and some of that was mainly due to some of the stuff we brought on too early for his maturity. So no different to the stuff we talked about earlier. I mean, you know, Rottweilers, when you do protection, you know, again, depending on the genetics, but you might leave them 18 months before you sort of really get into that. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of the game, whereas a lot of it's pray and play in those early stages. Whereas the Malinois at 6 months is an 18-month-old Roddy.
But
So again, you learn more. And unfortunately, I bought the next one, but I choose a bigger one, and he was just too big, and he's just not good for the sport. But I'm on traveling too much to really, it was going to not be fair on the dog.
Yeah.
Is there? Are you seeing any Rottweilers in like working professionally?
Yeah, there's a few in the police at the moment.
Yeah, there's
Yep.
a couple out there at the moment.
Yeah,
They kind of went away from that, like particularly like when was the last time you saw a pointy-eared dog in the airport? They don't have them anymore because they're too intimidating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
They got like a policy now in airports, like floppy-eared dogs.
Really?
Yeah, because they're not intimidating. They don't want to upset people. And people whinge about them.
Maybe they need to intimidate them so people stop doing dodgy
It
things.
was the same with the Rottweiler. That's why I went away from the Rottweiler for so many years, right? Where you got, like Paul said, these males, they're coming out of the box and they're barking and they're just look intimidating. Most of them, with put on enough pressure, will probably turn around and run home.
Yeah.
But naturally, a Rottie, a German Shepherd, the young male I got here, which is Paul knows his lines, like male Dutchy kind of background, like they naturally have that kind of defense that comes on with age anyways. So you don't need to be putting that much defense on them. But yeah, like a lot of agencies don't have dogs that look too intimidating anymore because it's not pretty to see. Because as a society, for this one, we're getting softer. Right? And that's funneling through, and hey, government and votes, right? So
it's just it's the same with all society, right? But
yeah.
I mean, touching on your point, Chris, I mean, a lot of I've been to a fair few working dog schools, and I'm constantly looking at could we do something different? Could we overlap the training styles, and could you build a better dog?
I believe so.
Yes to all of the above, but then I look at it and go, actually, you guys don't like, for the sake of the job and getting out and doing the work, to build the genetics or develop that genetics into that next level. In some respects, you sort of want it already in there. Like you hear the whole thing, like, did the dog turn on? Was it flicked on in prey to chase the sheep or the sheep when they're really young? And so, in 3 months, that dog could well and truly be there, or with some different approaches to training that you can build its confidence and do that. But realistically, time is one of the key things that I don't believe is available in the agricultural industry to sort of spend time doing. So I look at it and go, sorry, Laura?
Is it not more education rather than genetics?
Well, obviously you start with genetics, right? Like fundamentally you need the genetics to develop. So, like take the story of the Rottie. He had strong underlying genetics, but I had to groom a lot of that in the sport we do. You've got to build drive and energy and passion and really want them to come out because, again, I think we spoke about, ages ago on that last podcast. I mean, the prey item in the sport that I did, or the obedience, is, that it's hidden. It's you're training that motivation to work with you in unison. Whereas again, the sheep is the prey. Like it's automatically, if the genetics are there, the dog's already wants to do it. All you're doing is overlaying training skills.
You're right. But I think a lot of young dog trainers get confused when they talk about prey drive as well, because there's prey drive and then there's prey drive. So I'll give you an example. That young bauble I had that went camping at my friend's place and they adopted now. She sleeps on their bed. Anyways, you play with a ball with her and she'd kind of chase it for a bit, but it was a game. But if she saw a mouse, like this dog was on. But as soon as it was artificial drive, like an artificial item, the drive just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot in a lot of dogs that come through here, particularly shepherds, a lot of Rotties as well, where prey drive isn't prey drive if the prey's mechanical. Like you could throw a tug toy or a ball in front of them all day and they're like, no. But they see a dove land next to them and it flaps its wings. Like it's on.
Can you give me an example of that in a work dog situation?
Now that's a bit hard because generally most stock dogs will just want to chase movement, right? It's part of the predatory sequence, right? So they orientate, they see something, they eye up, they stalk, they chase. And then the next thing is bite, where most, not all stock dogs kind of stop there. And rather than bite, the first thing genetically is to stop the movement. But then, of course, then we go to our cattle dogs that are more direct. So it kind of changes again. But I don't see many Kelpies, collies that will chase a ball that won't chase sheep.
Yeah.
Because that drive is really transferable between
I feel like I've always kind of said about, because I catching goats when I had Tide from a young age, she has like a high she has a very high work ethic, like herding instinct, but she also has a prey drive where when she's working, it's like she's hunting as well, but she doesn't want to kill anything and she doesn't really bite anything, but she has a drive to find stock, hunt them, gather them, and she just has that prey drive in her where it makes she can't get upset with anything that happens at work because it's the prey drive that's overriding everything else. So if you rouse on her about being in the wrong position while she's herding sheep, she'll readjust herself, but she won't care because her prey drive's overriding that, where she still is locked onto the animal and wants to work the animal. And you can do whatever you want and you won't upset her working ability because her drive is beyond her working instinct, if that makes sense. And there's not many dogs that have that drive. They've got the working instinct drive, but they don't have that drive beyond that.
Do you find that changes with stock? Like, I'll give you an example, like young Sting hurt his foot. I haven't run him since Geary. I got him out today and we got half a dozen goats here. If my dogs are working sheep and see goats, oh man, like goats like their crack. Like, so do you see that within like a dog like Tidy as well? Like,
yeah, I could be working sheep and she will be having the time of her life. And if I make like a pss noise, she'll stand on her back legs, like with her nose in the air, sniffing for goats or looking for something else that might be out there. And if you send her, she's never coming back until she's got something in a mob. Yeah. So that's how I sort of see prey drive within a working dog. And that's something I kind of always looking for, but I never see that next level of prey drive in like a stock dog, like I've seen in something like her, for example.
Yeah.
And is that the same with what you're talking about with those type of dogs? Like some have the real prey drive and there's others that people call prey drive but isn't actually prey drive?
Yeah, a lot of it's fake or it's built.
It's manipulated.
Yeah.
It's created.
Yeah. Paul, when we first started, when we first met each other, I was anti-tools, 100% anti-tools. You know this.
Me too. Positive only, me, mate.
And you kind of changed my the way I view tools now to educate. I don't have an issue with a tool used on a dog as long as it's used like a tool, not a weapon. And I put that analogy down to, like, I drive a car and cars are used for drive-by shootings, ram raids and abductions, but I don't use it for that purpose. I use it as a mode of transport, as a tool. Being in the working dog scene now for 4 or 5 years yourself and getting more exposure, have you seen a change in the way people use tools as well, whether it's an e-collar or a bit of...
To be honest, I haven't seen any. To be brutally honest, I haven't really spoken of it, but I haven't really seen any of the uses. So that's not a bad thing. But again, it all comes down to in like education. So, when you talk about tools as an example, I mean, you guys many years ago before you got involved, I mean, out at Dane and Nikki's place when Dimmy was running those sort of things out there to try and give you guys a bit more of an exposure into different worlds. I mean, the e-collars that I used and still have, I mean, they would use to stop, to motivate, to drive, to teach. Like, the same tool actually did 6 different things to a dog. So, when people think of e-collars as an example, I mean, particularly with stock and stock education, is to stop something. And when we mean by stop, it absolutely can stop a situation from, in a heartbeat. But the reality is that the way that, again, we use those sort of tools, it's actually used to motivate and stop. So the dog actually fully understands, and therefore the level of what you actually utilize is far less to achieve the better outcome. So it's actually far more humane.
So to give some context to that, I was 100% against tools. Paul comes out here one day with his Rottweiler, and I'm like, no, e-collars, they're cruel. They're cruel. Gets his e-collar out, and this dog jacked up like I'd never seen. Like, man, he started frothing at the mouth. He's jumping up so excited. Like, I was like, is there like some food behind? Like, what's happening here? And all he did, he's got this out, and he goes to the dog, you want to work? And the dog started barking and carrying on, kind of like my ritual before a trial.
Mhm.
Right? I don't have tools, obviously, but I use that. And I was just like, and then Paul put this collar on this dog, and the dog's working. He's scaring. I think I might have even touched cloth. He had me in a bark and hold. Like, this Rottweiler in my face, and I'm like, I'm not moving. This thing's going to bite me if I move. And it was pretty bad. And when we finished that, I was just like, I've got to learn what happened there. Like, I don't get that. And then even like talking with Paul, I kind of still didn't understand the concept. But then I went away, and I, like Paul mentioned Dimmy there. Like, Dimmy works with us here a few days a week, and learning plenty from there. And Michael Ellison, doing my own research, and we mentioned the Nepopo stuff before, and just watching and educating myself. I was like, oh my God, like, this can be used so much different than what it is. Like, it was just amazing. Like that I still tell that story, Paul, to like people that like rag on e-collars, and like, wait a minute, it's like I chopped dinner with my knife tonight. I didn't kill anyone with it. Like, the way you use it. Like, that was one of my driving things behind educating myself as well. Like, that was
which is again, it like every tool or every education isn't there to put on every dog either. It's all around. There's certain dogs, there's certain applications, there's certain methods, there's certain approaches, but having a toolbox full of them just allows to pull one out when you need to. Like, if like particularly in your job now where you're training, you're rehabilitating, dogs for family life. It's very hard to say you can't fix it. And I mean, that's, there's times where, that might be possible. I mean, that might be the outcome, but the reality is the bigger the toolbox that you've got, the bigger the learning, education, and the growth, there's a higher success rate that you'll be able to rehabilitate that animal and give it back to a loving family, and it's a happy ever after situation.
Oh, absolutely. And like the tool for the job, like, and when I talk tool, like my main tool is a slip lead, like a bit of rope that Natalie makes into leads, right? But like you use the word prong collar, and a lot of people go like, oh, but Paul, we both have a mutual friend client who's 80 something years old and has a 60 kilo Rottweiler. He can't walk that dog on a bit of rope. There's a high prey, like that dog's extremely driven. Like somebody's dress flows and he's like, whoa, can I grab that? Like he has to use a prong collar to help educate a dog like that, So yeah, 100%.
And again, it's all tools for certain things and understanding them. So, and again, that's definitely more in the pet space, but there's a lot of overlay in terms of the working dog stuff, and certainly in every training dog style.
Well, even like our rituals, like for example, if I get an agitation collar out, so just a thick flat collar with a handle on it, and I put that on one of my Malinois, they go up gears. They're like, yes, I get to bite someone. But
because they know what's happening next. It's the same as jumping on the back of a ute, right? They jump on the back of a ute, you're going to work, you're going to chase sheep or cattle.
That's right.
Dogs learn by pictures.
Yep. I put a harness on them. I get a harness out and I go, so do I want to work? She starts barking and carrying on. She goes, oh, I get to find something. I might even get to drag you into an odor, and I might get a tug toy. Like tools are amazing if used correctly, right?
What do you think, Chris?
I wanted to ask Paul, if you say you didn't have you're on the road a lot now and you're busy and you've got your 3-year-old dog that you maybe started a bit young and would like to do things differently. If if you had all the time again now, would you keep working that same dog, or would you get another one and
No,
do things
he's too big.
differently? What's that?
Look, my breeder had given me the dog that he wanted to give me.
Yep.
And I did a couple of tests on the dog, and basically there's a couple of things that I didn't like of the one that he wanted me to have. And so I chose my one, and he happened to be the bigger of the two.
Yep.
And he's just too big. Like he is a massive, massive unit of a dog.
Well,
My
knowing
mate-
what you know now with your, like with the Rottweilers and with the type of work that you like doing and the people that you've met along the way, would you get another one as well as the one you have now, or would you like to try something else just to build your own skills a little?
To be honest, I mean, you've got to love the dog that you live with, right? And I look, a Malinois is just not my. I like look. At the end of the day, I've got a lifestyle that's, I love going for a coffee, and my dogs go everywhere with me. We go to Bondi, we go to Coogee, we go, like, we don't have kids, so basically, if I'm home on a weekend, our Sunday is we'll be through the Opera House, walking through the markets with a 60-kilo Roddy and a Staffy, and just, mate, there's no like, the dogs are solid in respect of that human can, like, that lifestyle. And so, particularly with some of the sport dogs, you can't necessarily have them integrated 100% into your life. I mean, Dan obviously has his way of training is very different to mine in terms of he's got manners on his dogs where, when I've got a sport dog, he's a little bit wild, he's a little bit crazy, but when he gets on that paddock, he loves it. And so I want that drive and that passion. And the off switch, yes, but I don't want it to the, the manners that Dan's got. So therefore then, me getting a Malinois or a high-driven Shepherd, you'd probably be super successful in the sport, but I don't believe it'd fit into my life in terms of what I do with my dogs because they're with us so much.
Okay. So what about dogs that do well within the sport but then move into a full-time working career with either the police force or the military or whatever? So are they the same? Are they the same dogs?
No.
Not always. So some dogs, again, so we're talking about sport. We're talking about, when we talk about tools, as Dan was talking about, it's a dog seeing a visual sleeve on an arm is a toy. So again, for some sport dogs, that's just a toy, and it's about winning. It's about, recovering the toy from the person and taking it as a reward. So that becomes their, as I said, we talk about, sheep. The dog instantly sees sheep and gets driven. The dog sees the picture of a trial field, sees the person with a sleeve and knows I'm going to have a bite. The drive instantly raises up. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about, to be honest, which is on that same topic, I get comments all the time, Dan, of, when Dan brings Soda out at some of these trials and, they see the dog barking and they go, Dan brought his attack dog out. Now, I know Soda, I know who bred her, I know the lines, I know it's a great egg, right? And so, Soda's not is an extremely prey-driven dog that loves it, but isn't what you'd call an attack dog. But visually, the imagery might look the same, but it's totally different. That dog's not serious in respect of the bite. You know what I mean? It's there to win the game. It's there to it's the visual look is to someone who doesn't know what they're looking at, you look and go, wow, that's a mean looking dog. And Dan loves it. And obviously so does everyone else. But when you have a dog who genuinely will bite you.
So like Max, for example, my other one. Yeah.
Different.
He was biting me at 8 weeks old.
But you'll see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
Like again, you'll see it in their body language, in their eyes that, there's a chance that the sleeve might not be good enough for them.
Yeah.
And
Which one's the dog that's going to work?
that's the next level, right? So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because those dogs there, like Max, for example, he's 11 months old, and he'll grab. If I ask him to, he'll grab you. Like there's no if, buts, or maybes. Like he doesn't care if there's a sleeve or not a sleeve.
Is that Scotty's one?
Yeah, it's the one.
Yeah,
from
right. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
He's serious. Like he don't like he'll chase you without any equipment if I ask him to, and try to grab you.
But as a young pup, I remember when you first got him, he jumped on me and I pushed him down. He come at me harder and was like, "Come on, then," and I was like, "Whoa, wrong dog to do that with." Like,
Yeah.
I had to think about I was like, "Why is this dog trying to attack me?" It was like 12 weeks old.
We're like with Soda, if you didn't have a sleeve on or you weren't in a suit and you G'd her up, the probability of her biting you is probably going to be a mistake.
Yeah.
You're too excited and like the bite would even be shit. As soon as she grabbed you, she'd be like,
So
I don't do that.
in a corrective side of things, she'd be no good at work.
No. So this is so let's talk a mechanical dog versus a work dog, right?
Yeah.
Where Soda has got fantastic manners. Paul said, look, my dog's, but she's very mechanical and it's all a game to her, right? Where with a dog like Max, it's like, no, I just want to F you up. Like, I enjoy inflicting pain on you.
And think about the pressure that gets applied, Chris. Like if you, again, let's say you're a robber, right? And you want to flog the dog has to enjoy that grip and take whatever comes his way because he's not letting go of that person's arm or leg or any body part that they've got hold of. So again, in the training side of things, you're teaching the dog to absorb pressure. Now, genetically, the dog has to be strong enough so that you can apply, level A pressure, level B, all the way through to Z. You don't do Z because, at a young dog, that dog will fail even if it was genetically strong. But you would apply a level of pressure. Now, again, some genetics, Malinois and Shepherds, are like the breeding is so varied now that one level of pressure, let's take similarity, sensitive handlers. We're talking about that earlier for the stock dogs. Similar thing, right? So a dog's on a tool, on a sleeve, and you put a certain level of pressure over the dog. You can see the dog's white of his eyes. He starts chewing on the sleeve.
Well, it gets loose.
That's too pressure. Like that dog is obviously backing away in pressure. Now, two things: you can remove the pressure, and the dog enjoys the moment again, and you build that dog up. But genetically, you already know that you're now building a weaker dog to overcome the pressure, not the genetics underneath saying, stuff you, I'll go forward when you put pressure on me, like Dan was saying with Max. So two different things. So, but just to clarify, the sport that I did, it is a sport. Like it looks aggressive, it looks a lot of things, but it's a precision and a point-based sport. Whereas there's other sports over here now that, those dogs are actual working dogs, like they're police dogs, they're dogs in the military, they're dogs that are actually training to develop into that sport. And the training and the pressure and the athleticism is phenomenal, but the control is even greater. So the dogs want to kill you, but the control is phenomenal. They can call off a dog at 100 meters when it's coming in to take an attack, and literally the dog will stop and come back. So different sports and different dogs. But I just want to clarify that because I hear it all the time. Oh, Dan Camilleri, and he's got that dog. And just, again, man, it's awesome. But just for context, from where I've come from the sports side of things, we're very protective of the sport because people view things, as we know, differently. And so when people see things biting, they don't understand that it's a game and it's prey and it's play. Absolutely. And people look at Malinois as a dangerous dog. And, mate, in the right hands, they're not that way. But we would not necessarily do any of that stuff purely because the perception in the public would be different. But we'd also show the control of the dogs to show that that's not a thing. And so one of the things that I do love is Dan's got, those dogs have got full control, great manners, but do switch on too. So they can showcase the all-round dog, which is a testament to Dan. But I always get that, I know what's going on. But again, it's, a testament to Dan and the training he's done with Soda, and probably broadening a lot of the working community's eyes to what a prey-driven dog can do. but it's not necessarily what they believe that dog is.
No, 100%. And I suppose most because I got to take my mouse with me because I can go a bit nuts here at home. But most of my motivation behind when I go out, and I honestly don't, unless someone asks, like I don't get to sleeve out. But most of it is to show that we can use the same concepts that we use with those protection detection dogs in our stock dogs. It's the foundations, the principles aren't too dissimilar. We're just changing the end result, right? We're just playing with drive. Like it's no different with, like if Soda doesn't bite correctly, she doesn't get to bite again, right? If she doesn't grip and I hold onto it, you're gone. If I'm teaching a young dog to cast and I get some width for my dogs as I cast them around the house. And if I send them out, they don't break around the house, come back, you don't get sheep. Like it's very similar. A lot of these contexts and concepts, right?
Yep. No, definitely. So no, I just want to give you a thumbs up there, Dan. It's I get everywhere I go, I get that conversation. So
that's why I never took Floki with me, that black German Shepherd, because he was serious. Like great control on him again, but when he bit, you stayed bit.
Yeah.
Like,
so I don't mean to sound rude, but why do you have that sort of dog? Like I understand work, all the rest, you can sell it. Why do you have that sort of dog around your kids? Like
you've seen it around my kids. So
I know, but I'm just saying, like something that wants to like a pup and stuff. How do you go having something like Max when your kids love dogs? Like, is it just setting the boundaries? Like you don't go near that dog?
No, because he will lick my kids to death. He just understands that when that tool goes on, that big flat agitation collar, it's work now.
Yeah.
It's serious now. Right. And he's still a baby.
I'm not having a go at
no,
you,
100%.
That's terrible, Laura. I can't believe someone as
when
educated as
you
yourself.
first put Soda here and you had her on the lounge here one night, I was like, I'm not comfortable with that dog. She was just trying to like lay on top of me. and I'm like, no, like go away. And every time
bigger than a dash hound.
Yeah, but she cuddles up.
Yeah, I'm more scared of dash hounds.
What about the dash hound?
She wouldn't bite you.
Paul's laughing
She'd look
about
at a death before she bit you.
Paul's laughing about Dan's dog being a attack dog, and I remember I took about a 15-minute walk detour around a showground once because Paul's van was parked there with the door open. He had his Rottweiler sitting in the passenger seat, and I was like, I'm not walking past. He was just staring at me, so I walked all the way around the arena to get back to my ute.
But just on that, sorry, like Laura, I mean, one of the things is that those dogs, again, this is where I was just trying to, dispel that myth a little bit. So in this case, like Dan's conditioning, a collar to work, and I relate it back to working dogs in terms of you hop on the ute, you say a hunting dog, you put the chest plate on the dog. Like every dog has they relate to the association to the trip. Like I was talking to someone this morning and their work dog is car sick. And so they're trying to do the small drives and everything else. And I said, well, there's three parts of that. One is you can use ginger biscuits. It's a proven formula that sort of clears that up a little bit. But one of the things is the association to the car. I said, if it was me personally, I'd have feed the dog in that car for the next 10 days so that when it hops in the back of the tray, has its feed, hops off, hops in, hops off. So the association of that car now is phenomenal. Like it's already a positive experience before that dog gets over their car sickness. Obviously, the small trips, that not overfeeding it, blah blah. So it's not dry reaching, you're getting sick, but you've already built a positive association. So if you take the stuff with Soda or Max, the dog understands that when the job is on for work, there's the collar goes on, and therefore, hey, this circumstance is different. But when that collar's off, the dog is normal, and that's more around the upbringing and how Dan puts in all that foundation. And I mean, the dogs aren't genetically crazy. Like a good working dog is not that dog. Who's not
that's
a
very
stable dog.
100%. Those big things that are frothing and look crazy, they don't make a good work dog. And when we talk, we're talking protection dogs here. They're unstable. They're unpredictable. They don't make a good dog.
Like you take a special forces dog, they work within a team of people. There might be one dog and 12 special forces. If you get a dog who's loose and starts biting your 11 teammates, that dog, that doesn't happen, right? So you just got to put in context that the dog understands who his team is and who will protect.
Yeah.
And it's all around pictures. So they're not unleashed. But we've spoken enough about Dan and everything else.
Thank you.
Like, what do you think, Laura? So you've got the magazine, you've been running the podcast, you've built the team, you've switched the dogs, you've ditched the Kelpies, you've got the Dachshunds running the trials. What as doors open for you from the magazine? Have you made a lot of new connections, and how have you grown over the last 4 years?
Oh, it's sort of a whirlwind of a 4 years, really.
Ag woman or the Hawkesbury showgirl.
Yeah, but that's all different. That's not really relevant.
But it has
It has definitely opened up a lot of doors. Like, I look back and I go, how crazy was that? I sold my good horse to buy the magazine, which I'm glad I did now. Like, at the time, it was a massive deal to me. I was 20. What am I? I'm 24 now. I'm almost.
So just on that, why buy the magazine? What?
I couldn't tell you. Well, the story is, we were sitting around a campfire at Gundagai, and Lauren mentioned that she was thinking of selling it, and I'd sort of grown up with family businesses around me. Like, mum was a real estate agent, ran her own business. She had Grovers by then. Dad was like third generation house moving. It was sort of always been around me, and I'd always aspired, I guess, to run my own business or the lifestyle it gives me. Like, I didn't want to be in a 9-to-5 job and Friday afternoon be sitting there waiting for the clock to tick down. I wanted to have that flexibility within my job. And where I was working at the time, I didn't really. I'd done a year of uni, hated it. I'd done a qualified bookkeeper. I did that 2 years after uni. Like, I was going to TAFE 3 nights a week working full time. I then went into a sales role, hated that. Like, cold calling people, seeing if they wanted to sell horses. Like, it just wasn't.
Now you're selling advertising. I mean, geez, you haven't changed much.
I still don't like cold calling people. I hate it. I hate asking people for money. Like, it's not me. And I guess it sort of all fell into place. And, well, my English teacher would laugh now. And she has laughed. My sister was still at school when we bought it. And she laughed because English was my worst subject. But it was that I didn't enjoy writing about why the curtains were blue. Why the author wrote that. Like, maybe the curtains were just blue. Like, we don't need to go any further into it. Like, it's, but the magazine has opened up a lot of doors for me. It's sort of brought me out of my comfort zone. I'm actually quite a quiet person a lot of the time until you get to know me. And then I guess growing up in the horses, like, I'd always been around older people, and you had to know how to talk to them, or you weren't, not welcome isn't the right word, but you just had to, or you weren't spoken to, like you were just the little kid that didn't talk. So that wasn't really a big deal. But coming out and not knowing anyone, I had a lot of head noise to get around when I actually bought the magazine and started Dog Talk. Most people probably don't know that. Like, I had a lot of trouble getting back out in the trial ring. I was worried what people were thinking, like, how can she write a magazine and her dogs go like that? Like, it was sort of a big deal. Where a lady that runs the Camp Draft magazine, she's, I consider her a good friend and a bit of a mentor. And she said to me, you don't have to work a dog to write about dogs. And as soon as that was said to me, it all sort of clicked, and I got over it a little bit and sucked it up and got back out there.
Yeah, awesome.
I guess it's taken me all over the country. Like,
you would never have.
I would
judged?
never.
You wouldn't have had the courage to.
I wouldn't be.
Judge?
I wouldn't be 3 sheeping. I would not be 3 sheeping, and I would not have a team of collies if it wasn't for the magazine. And that is the honest truth.
It's unreal, eh? That's awesome.
Yeah, I went down to Adelaide because the Supreme was on down there. I took a friend of mine. We went just for a holiday. She'd broken up with a boyfriend and needed some time away. So we went down and was like, stuff
Dog
it. Ran
trialing. Oh,
Yep.
geez.
Yeah, you went on that whole circuit.
Yeah, we
Then you
went
to
down.
Queensland as well. didn't
Yeah,
you?
I've done the Queensland Western Run up there. I went to Casino for the Australian cattle. I've now bred my dog, like my 3 sheep dog, to a cattle dog. Some crazy thoughts about that. Just trying all different sorts of things, and it's really opened up my eyes to a lot of.
What about your confidence?
Yeah, it still struggles sometimes. It's like anyone. Sometimes it is, I hate to say it, and I'm not this sort of person, but sometimes it's hard being a young girl traveling by yourself.
I was just going to ask that question. I mean, being the rose amongst the thorns here with us, I mean, how do you feel within the industry? And obviously, your doors are opening a little bit easier than somebody else's, given Dog Talk, given the magazine. So you're sort of getting a little bit of a leg up, but at the end of the day, you're still a young woman in the environment. And you're traveling, I've traveled those roads. I know how lonely they are and how, there's fuck all out there. So, I mean, they are dangerous Wolf Creek areas. So like, how do you feel in respect of, like that and obviously encouraging the next young woman to take on the magazine, should you ever want to sell it or things like that? I mean,
I honestly, without the working dog community, would not be able to do what I do. There is always someone looking out for me somewhere. It's really, I'm lost for words when I try and explain it. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's really difficult. I turned up to Casino there, and as welcoming as everyone is, my guts were churning. I was like I walk in and a lot of people know my face, and I struggle then to be myself. I feel like as if I've got to have the magazine hat on all the time and I have to be professional and all these different things. But I'm starting to let my walls down and be just me. And if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. But it is a lonely place out there, that's for sure. It definitely hasn't found me a boyfriend.
You're not going to find it. It's hard doing it 3 sheeping.
Yeah.
You might find a sugar daddy.
No, but other than that, it's great, and it has opened up a lot of doors, like even to confidence.
Pension Day is always popular, though, Dan.
Sorry.
Pension Day is always popular.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that about the 3
I think I'd
sheep.
still have to work every day.
sheepers.
Even if I found a sugar daddy, I'd still have to work every day. I can't not. It's who I am. But at the same time, something like the magazine, I've just been selected as a RAS Rural Achiever State finalist, which in some of my circles is a pretty big deal. So something like the magazine, I wouldn't have entered that beforehand, and I probably wouldn't have been considered for it. So I guess where that all comes from is agriculture as a whole. You don't have to be working the land to be involved with agriculture, and that's really something I'm quite passionate about. Is growing up, it was always, what are we? We're on the outskirts of Sydney. So when we went traveling with the horses, we were those people that come from Sydney, and you weren't part of it all and all the rest. And so I guess that's a big thing. And I think the magazine's allowed that for me to be me, but still be involved with it and have a role in educating others of how to do it in terms of, I think I'm rambling now.
No. I mean, think about it. You're the one sharing those stories, right? Like without that magazine, again, no different to this podcast. I mean, that magazine is a conduit to, it's a bird's eye view to the whole country in certain events, people, individuals, and whatever you choose to put in that magazine. And again, if someone's in Tasmania, I mean, they're getting a magazine and seeing what's happening in North Queensland. And same with this podcast. I mean, people all around the world are, looking at, various bits and pieces that go on. And apart from this dribble that's happening tonight, I mean, you've had some substantial, really good guests. So I think, look, to be fair, your magazine went leaps and bounds when you ditched the guy next year and went solo.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a turn. Yeah. But it's always good to, look, we've got to encourage the females to, like, I'm a big advocate, as we know, to, well, it's not just females. I mean, I did get a bit of ribbing over, we need to encourage young people.
I think young people as well.
whilst it's a bit of a tagline for encouraging young women to agriculture in general, I mean, it's young people. I mean, without the next generation, everything we do is gone.
But I also think a lot of people say the young people, and they actually forget about the next generation isn't my age group. It's Dan and Chris's age group, your age group. That is the next generation at the end of the day, especially in terms of dog sports. I think someone, I look at me, for example, you're working, you're trying to make money. A lot of people are having families, all the rest, that I think a lot of people forget that young isn't under 25 or under 30. Young in this next generation of dogs is 35 to 55, 60.
You're in the sweet spot, Chris.
and I really do believe that, because you guys are the ones that, a lot of your kids are getting older, or they've got their own sports, all the rest, that you have the time to put into the sport, to put into your dogs, to run the events, those sorts of things. Like, I think, yeah. Does that
Are you training dogs much?
Me, at the moment, no. I had a lot go on in life the last few months, and I just haven't been in the headspace to train dogs. So, yeah. But I want to now, yeah.
Things starting to settle a bit.
Yeah, longer days and things starting to settle, yeah.
And that's also the good thing about training dogs is if you can let it happen, it's a perfect time to train dogs when you feel like you're not in the headspace, because that's why we do it, because it can bring you back to the headspace as long as you're not expecting too much, and just remembering why you have your dogs, why you love the dogs, and why you love just getting out there and in the middle of a paddock with a handful of sheep and wandering around, And it's the ultimate peacemaker, really, as long as you're not trying to achieve anything or expecting too much from it, but just going for a walk with your dog and a handful of sheep is the perfect place to be when you are having trouble getting back in the right headspace.
And sometimes it's not. I'll be honest though, sometimes it's not. If it all goes to crap, sometimes you're like, I just shouldn't have gotten the dog out. I just shouldn't have
but it doesn't matter.
But I worked a couple of dogs this afternoon. And it does put you in a good headspace, Chris. It really does. Like, I'm up at 4:00 every day, except Sundays, and I'm working 25 to 30 hours for my neighbour who's a racehorse trainer, as well as running the magazine, as well as I lost my grandmother and my auntie within the matter of 3 weeks. Like, it was all sort of a lot going on. And honestly, I should have been working dogs through all of it, because sometimes you just need to get away from it and go and work dogs. Or
the dogs aren't going anywhere either, which is another good thing. Like, they'll be there waiting for you when you're ready. It's not like a horse where you kind of got to give it a bit of work to make sure it's, nothing bad's going to happen. Like, a dog just wants to get out and have a go. Yeah.
And even just to go in and letting your dogs out for a walk and not going to sheep. Like, if you enjoy your dogs, you enjoy being with them. And I think that's something that I've found more so now since having the magazine and Dog Talk is it's not all about just training. Sometimes it's just about spending time with them and getting outside and, having that time away from the computer.
That is educating them as well.
It is.
For some manners.
And that's also probably something in the last few years that I have changed is you say the 1%ers, but, a simple thing of I let you out of the box, you wait till I actually let you out, or you go to the back of the kennel before you take your food, stuff like that. I'm so much more anal about, and that's probably come from Dog Talk and listening to 148 people talk. Like, it was a big thing at first, like getting my head around. You had all these different opinions coming into your head every week, and I was still trying to make my own opinion, and I'm still now trying to make my own opinion. Like, that in itself, like, I feel sorry for some people that, if you went and got a dog tomorrow and turned Dog Talk on and had 149 episodes to listen to, good luck to you, because your head would be spinning. You wouldn't know where to start.
Start with this one. I think that'll be the best.
Do you
Like-
think what was one of your main reasons to start gravitating towards the collies than the kelpies? You think, and then to three sheep trialing?
Well, I went to the collies because I was three sheep trialing. In all honesty, they, to me, in my opinion, to be at the top, and I'm going to offend some people saying this, but to be at the top level in three sheep, I genuinely believe a border collie suits it. They really do.
100%. Yeah.
They suit
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
training and that drilling of training. Horses for courses, and I think collie is that. Where I think the kelpie though is 110% a yard dog. Like not 100, like not only, that's not what I'm saying, but if you want to excel in the yards, a kelpie is going to do it more naturally than a collie.
Collies generally want to please more, a bit more cognitive like that, and three sheeping is the same pattern over and over. So if you've got a dog that generally wants to work with you and is cognitive,
But it suits my lifestyle. I don't
Yeah.
have real work for my dogs. So I was finding that the kelpies and the yard trialing, when I went away and did a week's work with someone, my dogs trialed so much better because they understood the job and they were tired. Where a collie doesn't need that to the same extent. Like, mind you, that one now, I think real work would benefit her to the ground. But yeah, that's why I was swapped over to the collies. And the three sheep, I believe you can train to, both you can train to trial, don't get me wrong. But the three sheep, like you said, it's the same course every time. Like the dog, you can pattern the
it becomes
dog
patterns. Yeah.
to the same extent, but it's slower. I like the precision. I come from a horse world where I had to do a flying change on that cone. And if I didn't, I was losing points and you weren't winning the class. So it was sort of, I enjoy that side of it. Like I enjoy, positioning a dog exactly where you want it to be positioned. And as much as you'd have to do that in the yard, I think you can get away with it a little bit, not having that. And I think when I was trying to compete in it, I didn't have those things on my dogs because I had dogs that didn't suit me. They just, Archie, as much as I loved the dog, didn't suit me.
No.
He was too much dog for me. Great for Callum, loves him. But for me, he wasn't right. And there's been a few dogs like that over the time. I know I love it and I enjoy the people as much as you pick on free sheepers. I enjoy the
I love free
people.
sheepers.
They're really welcoming,
plan on
and
being one
honestly,
one day.
they look out for me. They really do. I love sitting there talking to Pip Hudson, listening to the stories from 50, 60 years ago and hearing the stories of, he raised his kids with no power and all these different things. I love that. I love people's stories. And I guess that's what the magazine I love about it is hearing people's stories.
And more of that stuff in the magazine too, Laura. I mean, that history is never replaced, right? You can't, once it's gone, it's gone. So try wherever you can in those conversations to, capture some of those memories and moments because
Get it written down.
Yeah, get it written down. I mean, we've all had those, in your case now, you just, your grandparent or your auntie's obviously passing away. I mean, when that history leaves us, it's, you always say, oh, I wish we recorded that or I wish we documented that. And you're a wordsmith now in respect as much as English teacher didn't. I mean, you are you are in a position now to narrate some of those stories, both the new ones and certainly the history and the old ones. And so you're certainly in a privileged position to, capture and share those things with the rest of us that, will find that super interesting.
And I think Dog Talk's every bit as important in capturing that and probably maybe not more so, but equally in capturing it. And I think Dog Talk is accessible to everyone and anyone, whether there's a lot of people young that can't read and write. The education system lets a lot of people down that I think Dog Talk, anyone can listen to it.
That's right. But I think with print as well, having a magazine is important because I think magazines need to be around forever, no matter how advanced the internet gets or, digital gets. And also when you're reading something, say, for example, the story you just told me about Pip Hudson. If you're reading that story, you're using your own imagination to picture where he is, to picture the landscape. picture what he's talking about, and then your mind's taking you in places where you start to imagine what it would be like for you. But if you're just listening to the story, you're listening to every word, how he explains it, and that's all you're really taking in, because you're not using your mind to then imagine further. So it's still like what you do and what you're putting out there for everyone is extremely important. And to have the stories written down is always going to be a lot more valuable than, as great as Dog Talk is. To have it written on something that everyone can have sitting in their lounge room is, I think, still a lot more important.
I do hear, though, you start from the back when you read the magazine. You open up the back.
I think so. I do. I flick right. I look at that first inside back page and go, oh, enduro. But no, I think Chris as well. Like I listen to a lot of audio books as well, and I think actually listening, I zone out a lot. I start thinking about what I've got to do for work and what I'm having for dinner and all these different things that when you sit down and read, you are physically like that is where your headspace is. Like you take in so much more information.
So I find that I do that reading, but I've got a love for audio books now.
Oh, me
especially
too.
Like psychology audio books.
No.
I just can't get away. And if I do start to have a bit on my plate, I'll just go, okay, I'll pause it here and come back to it.
Yeah.
Kind of later.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I listen to them when I'm driving. Oh, I hate calling people randomly sometimes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But yeah, everyone's busy, sort of my attitude that I know at times, like as much as I like talking to my friends, when they ring me at 3:00 because they're driving somewhere on a Friday afternoon, I'm like, mate, I'm still at work. Like, I've got work to do. Like, sorry, I'm trying to concentrate and write an article. I can't talk to you and do that at the same time. So it's sort of, yeah, I try not to ring too many people, but yeah, audiobooks are good, but you don't take it in the same. Like I've actually started reading physical books.
When I was a sales rep, Chris could always tell when I was on the road.
Yeah.
So I'd start ringing
Yeah.
everybody.
That's the best part about this community is if someone gives you a call, you can just say, mate, I'm busy and hang up. You don't have to give a reason why. And they'll go, okay, he's busy, but everyone's calling each other on the off chance that they might be sitting behind a mob of sheep in the shade, as well, or something like that. So,
Yeah, definitely. I always find it funny when someone's ringing you and then all of a sudden you get the whistle right in the ear and you're like, oh, you could have given me a warning there. Like,
Chris, for someone like yourself that's been trialing and progressing through the industry now for the last nearly a decade when we met each other in that trial, what changes or are there any changes that you would like or a direction you'd like to see stock handling and stock dogs go?
It's probably been the same forever. Like the people who understand it are doing it the way they understand it. The people that have grown up generations watching their dad and granddad jump around at the back of the sheep and slam things around, they'll probably just keep doing that. And that's probably been the same forever, I notice a lot contracting that the people with, generational farmers with so much access to livestock and they just have absolutely no idea what they're doing. They know how to do some things, but they just don't understand the flow of anything or how to move something without screaming or yelling or beeping their horn or driving straight through the mob, and you just think, I think it's been like that forever. There'll always be the people in every industry, the ones that just get it and do it the way that they want to do it, nice and steady and probably a lot quicker. And there's always going to be the people that don't quite get it but still get it done. So I don't know. I can't comment on if there's a shift in the way people are doing things because it's probably been like it forever. If we talk about the old greats like Pip Hudson and stuff, he would have been doing it like that forever, but he also would have been surrounded by some people that were just had no idea, and then we could get forward into the future. Right now, there's someone out there who will be a Pip Hudson one day and they're doing things because they get it and they're surrounded by people who don't get it. So it's, I don't know.
I also think though a lot of those, not all, but but a lot of the older generations within the trialing community are open to new ideas. I really do think,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
I
Well, I
find
think with trialing, it's even just I don't really dog trial like compete too much anymore, and I judged a trial. I think it was a New South Wales at Oberon, the novice, maiden novice, or just a novice or something. And I know that there's a few people doing schools and clinics and stuff, and the New South Wales Yard Dog Association had sort of put on a few themselves, and like the quality of dogs was high as well, but just the quality of trialing in general was just better than I'd ever seen or witnessed in the time that I've been competing and judging. And that has to come down to the extra education that, time on education that people have been doing with judging schools, trialing schools, clinics like I know you spoke to Amelia, and the things that she's doing. I feel like the level of trialing since I started has overall is going up. The best ones will always be that next level above, and they probably always have been. But the whole overall level was it was so good to be a part of. Like, I was judging, just going, this is incredible. Like, everyone was having a real good go, and everyone was so conscious of the stock, their positioning, where their dog is, where the sheep are. It was really, really good to be a part of that trial and the way that people trialed. What else was it?
You mentioned schools there, and I hear a lot of the time people say, "Oh, that everyone's running a school these days," but I actually think that's a good thing. Like, I think everyone can teach someone something.
Yeah,
like
that's right. I think, but more so the judging schools probably that are helping a few of those things. But yeah, like especially with I've done 2 sort of training days or schools or clinics or whatever you'd like to call them, and that were very early on, and I realized then that I didn't need to go to too many others because it was going to take me a long time to really not even perfect, but to get where I wanted to be with what I'd learnt off those 2 people. And I didn't want to complicate that, because I found that everything that I learnt or those 2 guys were trying to teach, I thought, if I can't get enough out of what I'm learning today, like, I'm never going to get it. So, and the best part about the 2 guys that I just happened to go to, which was no real choice by myself, it just happened, was Jake Nell and Mick Hudson. And both people who didn't care what sort of dog I had with me, what the breeding was, what I did during the week or what I did on the weekends. They just wanted to help me educate livestock and working dogs to then put that into whatever I was doing, and I still now moving mobs of sheep. I could be just trying to get a couple of lambs that are on the wrong side of the fence, or moving mobs of cows and calves or whatever. I still sometimes have flashbacks to those 2 individual days over 10 years ago, and just simplify things and learn and get it done. And it's from those 2 people that I learned from all that time ago. Yeah, and I can remember all that because I feel like I haven't overcomplicated it by going to every single trainer that is offered. And it's not because I don't think they're good or I don't think that I can learn from them. I feel like I'm still trying to put in place the things I learned off those 2 guys.
Yeah.
But that said, if anyone's going to remember detail, it's going to be you.
Yeah.
Like, your attention to detail and what you remember. Like, how many of those runs in New South do you remember the way the dogs moved, what they did, how they went?
Yeah, I can remember every single one.
You can probably remember what sides they did.
He's not working.
Just one of the things. Sorry, Dan. One of the things, though, and you're right, Chris. I mean, one of the biggest challenges when you go to different schools is, there's an old adage of trainer hopping. People, like, they don't hear or they don't necessarily agree or don't get what they want out of a certain
Validation.
trainer, and or their dog doesn't improve, so they go to the next one, and then they overlay what they learned from that person, and then they go to the next one, and then change everything that other trainer's taught them, and ultimately the only thing you're actually doing is confusing the shit out of yourself and screwing your dog.
Yeah, and asking questions during it, and sort of maybe making it a bit harder for the next person to learn as well, because you're asking
100%.
questions about the week before. Yeah,
I mean, one of the big things that I again reiterate with a lot of the seminars or trainers is go there with an open mind, but not to change your style, not to actually, like, if you've got a process that's working and you're trying to finesse that process, try and find that 1, 2, 5%ers out of that seminar. But don't do a 360 on the process that you've got, because you've learned it from this person on that weekend, because that is the ultimate of, just as I said, destroying the dog and ultimately confusing yourself, and you basically get nowhere. That's to be honest, I've done that. Like when my earlier dogs, I certainly had a habit of falling in love with the trainer, so to speak, in terms of what they resonated with you. And then you change your entire process, and then, the outcome is not pretty, and you don't achieve your goals. So,
well, I feel like now I've been in a lot of situations where I can't really train my dogs, at home. So even now I've got a place that's probably the best training facilities I've ever had, but you're just a bit short on time, and I don't have sheep at home. But if you only train, I've only learned a few very, very important but basic things. What I try and do now is, instead of using those things, going home and setting up a situation to train them and do them, I wait and just go about my business day to day, working livestock. And if there's an opportunity where then I can use what I've learned from those guys, I then put it in place where I can use it in my day to day,
awesome.
and it might just,
yeah,
and that seems to work really well, because I'm using it in a real life scenario. I'm choosing a time to do it where nothing really bad's going to happen. And a lot of my dogs are driven by achieving something at work because they're work dogs. So then that little bit of training I do, we achieve something, the sheep go through the gate, give my dog a good pat, we get back in the buggy, and it's like I've got a whole new dog with me. But if I took that dog home and just kept setting the situation up because I wanted to train what I learned, it's probably, we're not going to get it, And so I think keeping it basic, fine. And if I wasn't happy with those two guys, if I didn't learn anything, I would have looked further. But now I look back now, and it's been 10 years. I'm so open to learning, but I haven't really, I'm not driven to find another trainer yet, unless I run into real problems, because I still feel like those things that I've learned from those two guys, who then since that day have just excelled even more.
I was going to say that you're two pretty good candidates when you.
Yeah.
I guess what I was trying to say though is there's trainers for different stages. Like if you didn't have basic and like your dogs were switched on, all the rest, if you didn't have half an idea what you were doing, you wouldn't have gotten out of Mick and Jake what you got out of it.
But that's what I'm saying now. It's 10 years later, and now I'm still doing it at work, because maybe I wasn't quite ready for it then, but I remember it and I go, this is a perfect opportunity for me to put that in place right now. Where I am 10 years further on. I do have dogs that are a lot more capable, and I can make sure it gets done properly.
Yeah.
And Paul, I was just looking at the time there. We've been on for
I've got to go and get ready to hop on a plane. So
before we wrap up, mate, like 4 years you've been supporting our show here. How has Enduro and yourself, with your exposure to working dog, the stock dog community, how have you guys evolved?
We've grown a little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah, only a little bit. We're still a minnow. Oh, look. As you know, like, I'm a very passionate dog person. So for me, the opportunity to be exposed to all the different applications within dogs is phenomenal. So, working dogs represents a large portion of our audience for sure. but we're exposed to hunting dogs, which again, Laura, if like my attitude 5 years ago for a massive bull Arab was, they must be scary dogs when I see the stuff that they can do, with a chest plate on, and
Yeah.
yet they are the most lovable, docile, friendly family dogs you'd ever meet in your life. But yet when you put a chest plate on, they become a superhuman dog. And again, you look at it from what it does to farms, what it does from, the agricultural industry that, feral pigs and kangaroos and all the other stuff can do to those things, and being exposed to it's phenomenal. So look, as a brand, we've been very, very fortunate to, partner up with some great people, and certainly Dog Talk and the Stock Dog magazine, and coming across people like Chris and, Jake and Mick, and hey, we meet some phenomenal people along the journey, and most people have got the same thing in common. They have a passion for dogs, they have a passion for the industry, and that's paramount. We're a dog food brand, and we like to promote everything, but fundamentally, if you don't have that alignment in terms of the love of the dog and the betterment of the dog, we touched briefly on breeding. I mean, there was a bit of a spike in everyone trying to capitalize on high-priced dogs, and breeding went a bit, wide and varied, and some dogs may not be achieving those numbers. But if you look at the Rocky sale that I go to every year, I mean, there are some phenomenally well-trained dogs up there getting some very decent money, but deservedly so. It's an industry with, we're talking about trying to encourage the young people, not the 50-year-olds, Laura, the younger ones in it, because we need the people to, take that baton up. So for me, just watching the industry grow it's more important than our dog food brand, for sure. I mean, watching, great dogs being trained, having some commonality to understand how that's actually occurred, and me getting the opportunity to go into those farms and, have a chat, and, no different, I suppose, in terms of the doors that, the podcast and the magazine opens. I suppose, selling a dog food brand, I get the access to a whole raft of different people, and, all the fundamentals are the same, but you get to have great conversations around it. So, yeah, look, it's been an exciting ride, and we're obviously very fortunate to be beneficial in the industry, I suppose. Yeah.
No,
Long-winded one, but look, it's just, again, it's all about dogs. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm extremely passionate with dogs, and that's a core thing. Don't bring up cats. I've got no idea about them.
Mate, we thank you for supporting the show for the last 4 years. It's been a very cool ride.
Yeah, no, it certainly has. Especially watching you, Dan. You're growing in when you get those different breeds and Noah's Ark and all that stuff. It's definitely interesting.
Mate,
I'd just like to say as well to Paul, for your involvement in everything dogs, the working dog community. It's so welcomed by everyone that I know, and the work that you've put in, the hours that you put in, and and the quality of dog food that you have, it's definitely the best. When you're working your dogs flat out every day, and you see the way that they're fueled, and you can see it in their work, and you can see it in their mannerisms. It makes you feel good about taking them, because they are big days. And to you guys for not only, what you've achieved in the space yourselves, like with Dog Talk, and it's not always about putting something, I'm not always listening to get tips and tricks and learn about people's backgrounds. Sometimes you're just listening because you need to listen to something. Like you're working, you do a lot of hours in the car driving to and from jobs, and you're working on your own a lot. Sometimes you just need to calm the head noise down a bit too. And Dog Talk's always the first one to go to for that, because you're listening to like-minded people who are doing things the same as you're doing. And you know that whatever variations you have within your lives with everyone else that listens to Dog Talk or is on it, you all have the same passion. You all go, there's always, that every single one of them is laying in bed at night, probably putting pedigrees together in the head, or wondering about what traits they want next in their dog, or how they're going to do things differently tomorrow, you know? And that's one thing that we all have in common. And to be able to have this platform just to listen to, even if you're not listening to get tips, you're just listening because you just want to listen to like-minded people. And it's been great for you guys to put that out here for us. So thank you.
No, thank you. Like we said before, without the community, this doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
Like it's, yeah. And I think that, I don't know, I haven't said that to you before, but I think that is a big thing. Like we don't sit here and just talk dogs. Like, God, everyone would tell Daniel to shut up. But like, it's one of those things that without guests coming on, Dog Talk doesn't exist. And without the community listening to it, Paul's like Enduro sponsorship, all those things, it's not just us. Like it's really not.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully tonight they got a bit of an insight into who the hosts are anyway, and a little bit of your background stories and everything else. And so, you know, that was sort of part of, you know, Chris, I know, has been agitating for a while, and so have I, and we probably didn't even scratch the surface, I reckon. But definitely, hopefully they got a little bit of, you know, a bit of an insight into who you guys are, and certainly then, you know, we'll do one in another year's time when you've grown even more.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds fantastic. And guys, love to thank you both for jumping on tonight and giving us your time. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Well
Thank
done.
you very much.
On that note, please remember we learn every day, and a day we stop learning will be a sad one. Have a great evening.